my best art comes when I'm not trying too hard. And when I just find out what's on the other side of the song, just like anybody listening to it unfurl over the 3 minutes, Like, for me, that's, like, when I'm at my best, I'm just the medium, and I'm, like, finding out what I'm writing, So I have nothing, there's no comment I could make about why I sing about small towns across the country. It's just something I do. I don't know why.
Margo Cilker sings about more than small towns, but perhaps a small town sensibility is part of what helps her, as she suggested here, to relax a bit and let things come to her rather than overthink her inspiration. The muse is slippery if you try to grasp it too tightly, and it's an art form in itself to open a pathway to that well of creativity, a pathway that can lead past small towns that just might reflect, in the hands of an artist like Margo Cilker, a much larger world. I spoke with Margo Cilker in early May 2024, the day she played this song, I Remember Carolina, at the Albino Skunk Music Festival located in upstate South Carolina, not too far from where she attended Clemson University. Originally from California's Santa Clara Valley, Margo now lives in Goldendale, Washington. And as the lyrics of this song attest, she's been all over the country, drawing insights and taking inspiration everywhere along the way. In this episode, we talk about those travels, cultural differences between Appalachia and the American West, working with Maya DeVitri, who performed with her at Margo's Albino Skunk debut that day, her focus on the lyrics to her songs, and more, including more music from her live set. I'm Joe Kendrick, welcoming you to our episode on Margo Cilker on Southern Songs and Stories.
And I remember Idaho, 24 years old. Good family with a bad dog, bit down to my bone. Pam Houston on the sailway, Daddy, he said no. I remember learning something. I remember Idaho. I remember seeing Dylan. He tipped his hat at me. I hitched a ride back to Boston with the 12 Tribes community. I remember I was swimming on Singing Beach. That's the last Massachusetts ever did for me. I remember Carolina. I remember California. I remember Montana. Don't I remember Idaho? I remember Massachusetts. I remember being homesick. I don't know where my home is. I remember being free.
Southern Songs and Stories is a proud part of the lineup at both Public Radio WNCW and Osiris Media, the leading storyteller in music. Follow Southern Songs and Stories wherever you follow podcasts, with more at southernsongsandstories.com. You can engage with us on social media. Southern Songs and Stories is on Facebook at Southern Songs and Stories, on Instagram at South Stories, and my YouTube channel is Joe Kendrick NC. Margo Cilker and I sat behind the green room at the Albino Skunk Music Festival in Greer, South Carolina on a cool spring afternoon just ahead of her set that evening. Temperatures were in the low 70s, and the weather had finally cleared after torrential rains flooded large portions of the festival grounds in the days leading up to the biannual event, causing a slight delay for its kickoff that day. Margo would bring on stage fellow Skunkfest performers Maya DeVitri, whom I interviewed the next day, as well as her fellow Clemson classmate and collaborator, Brooks Dixon, whose band played that afternoon around the time of our conversation, which begins with my question about how she decided to attend school in South Carolina rather than her native California.
I've sort of claimed a lot of homes, but that's kind of just the type of person I am. But I chose to go to Clemson to experience a new region of the country from the one that I grew up in. And I started listening to roots music, and that sort of led me out this way.
And then what was the Clemson experience like? Like, how does that play in with your overall, the arc of your story?
Well, I feel like I learned, well, as an artist, I love to observe. That's kind of what you do, is like paying attention is an important thing. So to be in a new environment for me, like a physical new environment, like the ecology, just like the woodlands here feels so different. The poison ivy looks different from the poison oak out west. And it was when I was a budding songwriter, so being in a totally new physical environment was impactful, as well as in a new cultural environment. So being observant of all those things sort of lended to my songwriting that I was diving into at the time.
It's an immensely important time in your life, too, the college years as you're becoming an adult. So how did that inform you musically here versus California? I know, all that roots music, it translates, but there are a lot of variations. There are a lot of things that are more specific to here than there are there.
Yeah, there's, well, I'd never really been to a bluegrass brunch before. And there was like just string bands set up in a lot of barbecue spots. And that's a cool culture that I don't know, that's different. Mm-hmm. You don't just stumble upon that. Like, I feel like there's a part of the, you just get out of church and you go to get barbecue and there's a bluegrass band playing. That same kind of thing. I don't think that those two things would overlap in California.
Mm-hmm.
Church letting out and the same church-going families stumbling into the barbecue joint to listen to bluegrass. Yeah, and the music it was different. I was able to travel to Asheville, North Carolina for concerts. That was exciting.
The whole, we're in the Bible Belt, so church is foundational to so much of the culture. And that seeps into a lot of your songwriting, I think. Thinking about the song, Keep It On a Burner. I got sidewalks, I got sunburn, I got books I haven't read, I got neighbors telling neighbors they're burning up when they're dead.
Yep.
And that just rings home, that rings true. That's pretty close to home for us here, right? Neighbors telling neighbors they're going to burn in hell.
I mean, it's intense, but I found a lot of, the impulse is to use the word commiserate, but I think just the relatability that I found having grown up in a conservative Christian environment, I found a sort of solidarity among other people who had grown up in the same kind of under the same perceptions about others and just life dogma and stuff like that. I got sidewalks, I got sunburn. There are books I haven't read. I got neighbors telling the neighbors that they'll be burning up when they're dead. I got wasted, I got waylaid, I got stuck in Lodi again. Got some time now, need the know-how. I've got only to write the end. Sometimes I feel it dipping beneath the waterline.
I think you've mentioned in another interview on WNCW not too long ago that you don't have any plans for another record right now.
Yeah.
But what are your plans for the immediate future? Are you still writing, or are you just touring?
I've been writing, yeah, and I've been enjoying time at home and starting to write more and more, and just appreciate the time I have to be still. For me, writing sort of really surges out of staying still and silence and solitude. For me, solitude is the number one factor that will allow for art to occur for me.
And tell us about that versus the constant motion of being on the road, because there are all these themes in your music of motion and being sort of grounded in other places. You've kind of had that sort of theme in some of your songs where you're what's the song I'm thinking about? Can't even remember exactly, but you're talking about being in maybe in New Mexico at the diner. What's that song?
Yeah, that's
but you're so
Santa
at home.
Rosa. Yeah.
Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, a friend of mine just came on the tour with us, and she had her first plate of hot New Mexican chili, and she said, it just was like it was emotional for her to have that meal, and that is, we're always searching for that comfort on tour, like something that reminds us of like a warm hearth, a hug from a loved one, just that sense of comfort. So to find that on the road is always like it's sort of like a game we play, trying to find things that make you feel like home when we're traveling. So yeah, that's definitely something that's prevalent in my work.
In little Santa Rosa, I got Christmas chili. There's something about the waitress, I felt like she knew me. We're seated around the table, napkins all unfolding. I've been needing coffee since we packed up this morning. I looked behind the counter, saw 3 crosses above the pies. It all felt as familiar as the place I'd left behind. Someone bought a postcard, someone bummed a smoke, someone lit that cigarette, and then I bummed a toke. I've been wandering, I've been moving.
That's a bit of the song Santa Rosa, the song Margo, Cilker, and I were talking about, taken from her second album, Valley of Heart's Delight. Our conversation continued with me asking Margo about how she met Maya DeVitri.
Well, I knew she was playing this festival, and Maya's music, I discovered her music in 2015, so she's been on my radar a long time. And then I reached out to her because I knew she'd be here, and yeah.
Yeah. So I know that Sarah Cahoon is producer for both of your records, right?
Yeah.
And so there's another small world tie-in here with where we are now at the Albino Skunk Farm, because Tyler Ramsey, I think, is playing this weekend, and so former Band of Horses. And I don't know if you've ever met Tyler, but
I have
Sarah,
not met
so
Tyler.
through Sarah, I guess you probably have. So I love to see how those. It's just that one of those moments where you realize that you're not in that big of a pond. That everybody kind of can, if they don't know anybody directly, it's not that far.
Well, that's just because we're here in the center of the universe, Albino Skunk Farm. Everyone knows that Skunk Fest is, this is where it all converges.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, in the roots music world, in a larger sense, that it's great to be amongst folks that, from an audience standpoint, from somebody looking at it as a fan, it's not obvious what's going on behind the scenes or what it's like to be in that world to work.
It's true. I mean, any one musician walks into this green room or backstage area, and within 30 seconds we can establish a common point of reference, whether it's like a band we both like have worked with, or if we were at the same festival so-and-so years ago. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
you can establish pretty quickly like some little commonality.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. I love that
Yeah.
about Albino Skunk and all of this, you know, the shows that I go to and see everybody.
Yeah.
And you'll see somebody guesting in another band. You'll be like, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, well, tell us about the songwriting, because lyrically there's so much, and there's a lot of wit. There's you know, just a lot of striking good lyrics, I think, honestly, in your songs. So where does that come from?
Well, thank you, first of all. That's sweet that you're noticing that I put the work into the words part, because that is very important to me. I think my some of my earlier songwriting influences, definitely, I think the context of their songwriting was important. There's like this setting that I picture of like a coffee house, and I came up on the coffee house circuit. That's like, I was younger than 21 when I started writing songs and wanting to perform them. Therefore, I couldn't go to bars. So not being able to perform in bars, the obvious like answer to me was singing in coffee shops. So that culture of like coffee house, open mic nights, stuff like that. You don't owe anybody any attention. You don't owe anybody, or like they don't owe you their attention, you know? And it's up to you to like turn their head to listen to you. It's up to you. It's on you to create a reason for someone to lean in a little bit and listen to what you're saying. So that's sort of why I'm trying to write ear-catching lyrics at any turn, because I want people to listen to the songs I'm writing. It sounds so obvious, right? But to me, like, I care. I want them. I don't want them to have to work to do it. I want me to work to make it easy for them to want to listen to me.
Yeah, just
Does that make sense?
The turns of phrase, and, you know, the joy of saying Tehachapi. I mean, it's like, what a fun word. Let's
Well,
be
it's
honest.
funny. That song, I mean, I wouldn't have written that on the same timing that I would have if I hadn't lived in South Carolina, I guess, in a twisted way. I learned the song Willin' from my friend Ed Broyles, he's a picker from out here, and we used to have a song circle out in 6 Mile, South Carolina. And he taught me the song Willin', and it was at a time when I was actually dropping out of college to pursue music, and I felt very empowered learning that song, and I felt uplifted by that group of people that I had in that song circle.
You're talking about the Little Feat song?
Yeah. Yeah, Willin'. Yeah. My friend Ed Broyles lived in Seneca. And I remember when I was, let's just say I finished my time at Clemson. That's not to say I graduated, but I was finished with my studies. And around the time, like, I went back for my senior year, and it was then that I just sort of hit a wall, and I couldn't get through it. And I would go out to 6 Mile, South Carolina, and we'd have a picking circle. And this group of people really just kind of met me where I was, and I was a wreck. I was dropping out of college. It's never a great feeling. I did feel relief, but one of the songs we played was Willin' by Little Feat, and but I get emotional because that song really became something for me to hold on to when I was like driving my ass back through Tehachapi to get back to California and to kind of start over and start from scratch in a way. But I just always thought of Ed when I played this song. And so I'm going to sing my song that was inspired by Willin', though, which is Tehachapi. Oh, sorry. I kind of knew it would hit me at some point. Oh, thank you. I need one of those shirts, though, so I can really be, like, sanctified in the cult. I need the albino. Beeve, perfect. Well, Tehachapi tonight goes out to Beeve. This is not a crying song. I'm just all, I don't know, I'm all kinds of twisted all around, but everybody's still feeling good out there? Thank you.
Wasn't much of a warning. He disappeared one morning. Put his mattress up on the back of a pickup truck. And I'd been working, my shoulders were hurting. I'd been learning how to turn my muscles into something. Will you think of me? Will you think of me? Will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi? In Sonoma County, well, the grass is feisty. It'll put a tear in your eye, make your nose run like it was wanted. You worked on the water, I was out in the pasture, and the fog rolling into peddling at night brought those two together. Will you think of me? Think of me. Will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi? Will I cross your mind down the 99? Will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi? Told you I was willing, but you heard struggling. Tell me, how does a girl with a family like yours end up so desperate? Well, it's these little feats that keep me going, and the day that I quit trying is the day my heart stops growing. Will you think of me? Think of me. Will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi? Will I cross your mind down to 99? Will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi? Baby, will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi? Baby, will you think of me on your way back to Tehachapi?
What's happening out in your neck of the woods in Washington, California? You know, what's happening on the ground with the culture, the environment. What do we need to know?
It's a good question. What is happening out west? Well, we fret over fire season. That's always looming. We seem to be getting a lot of rain this season. The reservoirs in California are looking good, so that's always exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. A lot of great music happening. And, the summertime, people really want to come out for festivals, so that's kind of where the people are.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much a time for playing indoors when it's nice and sunny out. People want to be kicked back outside.
What's the scene like versus out east? I'm fairly, local to here, so I'm at Emerald Fest or I'm at Albino Skunk.
Yeah.
Or, I'm not too far away from North or South Carolina. Are the festivals there, like the feel of them, any much different than they are here?
They're much, much, much dustier, I would say.
Dustier.
And maybe I'm just comparing them to here, which is like the muddy festival. But they are, we've played festivals in rodeo grounds, and that's great too. It's good fun. Yeah, I guess every region has its style. Yeah.
It's funny you say dustier, because just before we came out here to do the interview, I was talking with one of the chefs backstage, Bunny, and he was asking where you're from, and I said, let me look. Okay, Goldendale. He's like, yeah, we played them in high school. It's like high
Really?
desert up there. Yeah, I was like, oh wow, that's a really small world.
That's so funny. I gotta find a Bunny and shoot the breeze.
That's
about
right.
The,
Bunny's gonna be feeding you dinner.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, things out west are just how it is. They're more spaced out. They're more physically far away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So communities are kind of more. We're just spaced out. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. And like the songwriters that I came up with, like all of us sort of rotate through West Coast places. We just follow wherever the rent is cheaper or the opportunities are great enough to justify paying the rent,
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene drifts. Like we just have like a north-south drift that happens kind of.
Well, why you're not in your home place now in California, and that's been in your family for so long. Do you ever like see yourself returning there? What's going on with that?
I don't know about the near future. I mean, I would love to own a ranch off of Skyline Boulevard. Who among us wouldn't, but it's sort of unattainable for many reasons right now.
Just because land
I
prices.
don't have 10 mil laying around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
It's one of those things.
Yeah. I come from, like the place where I live now is the old family place, which is like my kids, I think, are the 5th generation in that house.
Wow, neat.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah.
But I can relate to the whole pull of the family homestead, and place is so important. And I think place is very important in your songwriting too. And I think that's part of what makes you and so many songwriters that have place at the somewhere near the center of what they're doing as relatable as having that appeal. Do you have any comment? Am I close?
Well, I'm a huge Lucinda Williams fan, and she always sings about place in a way that's very stirring for me personally. Every songwriter has their personality come through in their songs, and there are just certain things that come out, and for me, that's just kind of singing about specific places is something that has just kind of cropped up. My best art comes when I'm not trying too hard, and when I just find out what's on the other side of the song, just like anybody listening to it unfurl over the 3 minutes, For me, that's like when I'm at my best, I'm just the medium, and I'm like finding out what I'm writing, So I have nothing, there's no comment I could make about why I sing about small towns across the country. It's just something I do. I don't know why.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about having that peace and the being still as the best sort of environment for your songwriting, and so being a medium, sort of letting the song come to you instead of actually being the central figure in the song necessarily, sort of being a conduit. Maybe that's the way.
Yeah, the conduit.
The conduit. All right. Any road stories or entertaining anecdotes to share with us? What do you not want to do on tour?
Well, I do love a green room that has a couch I can take a nap on. This is a song, my last song here is called Well, it's actually, there's no title. It's a new song I'm going to sing for you. And it's like inspired by Neil Young at his, like when he does his like danciest songs, like, what's that one that's like, Mississippi mud never touched her finger. See the girl dance? Do you know that one? No. I don't know. That's the inspo of this song. Because you were dying to know. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a great time. I've truly, thoroughly enjoyed this. Thanks so much to Maya. Thanks to Zig for having me out, wherever he is. Thanks for showing up, everybody. It's been really fun, so thanks again.
Closing out this episode of Southern Songs and Stories with a new, yet unnamed song by Margo Cilker, which concluded her set at the Albino Skunk Music Festival, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this October. Leading up to that, we have another artist from last spring's festival to feature here, with our next episode on Maya DeVitri. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you can help us increase awareness of what we're doing. It's as easy as telling a friend and following this podcast on your platform of choice, both of which are quick, easy, and free. From there, it takes just a moment to give us a top rating, and where it's an option, a review. It makes a great difference because the more top reviews and ratings we get, the more visible we become to everyone on those platforms, which means that more people just like you connect with artists like Margo Cilker. This series is a part of the lineup of both Public Radio WNCW and Osiris Media, with all the Osiris shows available at osirispod.com. You can also hear new episodes on Bluegrass Planet Radio at bluegrassplanetradio.com. Thanks to Glenn Ziegler and everyone on staff at the Albino Skunk Music Festival for making this episode possible. Thanks also to Jacqueline Anthony for producing the radio adaptations of this series on Public Radio WNCW, where we worked with Joshua Ming, who wrote and performed our theme songs. I'm your host and producer, Joe Kendrick, and this is Southern Songs and Stories, the music of the South and the artists who make it.
Meet me at the Grange, there's a band come from out of town. Honey, when you're dancing, it turns my whole world upside down. Out on the weekend, I gotta keep both feet on the ground. But honey, when you're dancing, ain't nothing gonna keep me down. Yeah, out on the weekend, I gotta keep both feet on the ground. Honey, when you're dancing, ain't nothing gonna keep me down. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm Margo Cilker. Thanks for listening. Maya DeVitri backing me up. Happy festival. See you next time.
1, 2, 3. Let's go!